Welcome to the Iron Fist Boxing Brotherhood. I am your host, Cortez, and invite you to sub and come check out our Facebook and Instagram pages.
Let's get ready to rumble!
In the ancient game of chess, the pieces are all visual representations of the social hierarchy of civilization, where the king, queen, bishop, and rook are all part of the royal family, and the pawns represent the most numerous pieces of the game, and in most circumstances also the weakest. It is a historical representation of the everyday worker making up the bulk of society, but in fact, when in the right place at the right time, can become the most powerful piece of the game and an instant transformation. Just like the pawn, Canelo Alvarez grew from humble beginnings. He helped his family business along with 7 older brothers selling ice cream in a small pueblo. In this volume of the Warrior Mentality series, we will be taking a journey on how the young Mexican national could only imagine how a gift of boxing gloves he received when he was just 10 years old would transform this red-headed little boy into a warrior king of the great Mexican nation. Canelo Alvarez signed a $365 million 11-fight contract with DAZN, who is a streaming app that wishes to revolutionize the way fights are viewed by the public. This contract at the time was the richest of any professional athlete in history, making Canelo an instant global icon. But in order for us to understand the Canelo of today, we must first travel back to where it all started. Just like tequila and mariachi music, Canelo was born in Guadalajara, Mexico. As a young man, Canelo possessed a really strong personality. He was very easily angered. He had freckles, red hair, he looked different, and he was often made fun of by the other kids. And because of this, he would always get into fist fights because he was being ridiculed for his looks. And even though Canelo was hot-tempered, he had a lot of charisma. His family said he was always so serious, but we just wanted to give him a hug. Rigoberto, who is the eldest brother, tells a story of pride how Canelo was first introduced to boxing. He said that Canelo was 10 years old and Rigoberto was coming back from Tijuana after kind of a failed attempt at a boxing career, trying to make a name for himself. He said he was really discouraged and he was seriously thinking about quitting until he remembered that he promised his 10-year-old little brother a pair of boxing gloves. He said, when I gave Canelo the boxing gloves, or Saul, he said he immediately put them on and he began to fight neighborhood kids. Then after he was done, he ran up to his brother and said, I want to be just like you. Rigoberto said he felt very honored that his little brother was looking up to him, and from that moment he said he would pursue his boxing career because his brother was counting on him. But as well, he told little Saul, he said, no Saul, you're not going to be like me, you're going to be greater than me, you're going to be a champion. So just imagine for a second, imagine if his older brother was a big bully and he told his little brother, hey, you have red hair, you have freckles, you look different, you know, it's just not going to work out. Just stay with mom and dad, help them with their business, and you'll live a good life, brother. Don't get into boxing. You won't make it. I find this really uplifting because Rigoberto, he gave his youngest brother words of encouragement to be even greater than he was, even to be a champion. Immediately, Rigoberto started training his younger brother in a homemade gym. He would get kids from the pueblo to spar him. He would run circles around his home, around the neighborhood. And he did this for 2 or 3 years until Rigoberto realized, you know what, my younger brother's serious about boxing. I think it's time that we take him to a real gym. Rigoberto always looked out for his younger brother. He wanted the very best trainers for young Saul. He decided after much thought to take him to Chepo and Eddie Reynoso. They were known for teaching exact fundamentals and incorporating discipline from a young age in fighters. Rigoberto said the reason why he took them to Chepo and Eddie because when he was fighting their fighters, he was really impressed by their level of skill and dedication to their craft, and he wanted the same thing for his little brother. Within the first week of little Saul entering the gym, he received his very first nickname of Canelito, which is translated into Little Cinnamon, due to his rusty red hair and freckled face. This infuriated young Saul, and because it infuriated him, the nickname stuck. Eddie Reynoso said Canelo, from a very young age, had a lot of natural ability. He was extremely disciplined and he was quick to learn, that they would teach him an advanced technique and he would use it immediately in sparring. In extremely short time, Canelito sharpened his abilities like an assassin's sword. Young Canelito was so focused on his craft, at the age of 14, he won the silver and the Mexican national championship. Then in the following year, he won a gold. He won the whole thing to represent his country. Canelo was just 15 years old when he turned pro. Thousands would come over from all over the country when they heard of the teenage prodigy who would fight older men and not only win, but seriously knock them out. Canelo in his own rights was a teenage sensation in Mexico. but he said that he had to mature quickly because he had his first daughter at the age of 17 years old. He said it was a blessing in disguise for him because it completely changed his life and it gave him a sense of responsibility and dedication that he needed. So from the age of 15 when Canelo turned pro to 19, he had a pretty amazing record. He was 30 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw with 22 knockouts. Golden Boy and Oscar de la Hoya quickly saw Canelo's potential and they saw his large Mexican following and they signed him to Golden Boy Promotions. Oscar was an excellent businessman. If you remember, he was an Olympic gold medalist. He produced over $700 million in pay-per-view revenue. He was in some of the biggest fights in boxing history, like him and Mayweather, and he even started his own promotional company. He knew exactly what to do to build Canelo into a global superstar. Canelo was under 20 years old, and he already had fought Jose Cotto, who was 31-1. Many know that he was Miguel Cotto's older brother. Alfonso Gomez, who went really far in the Contender Series. He fought and knocked out Carlos Baltimore, who was a former champion. He fought Matthew Hatton, who is Ricky Hatton's older brother. Then he fought Sugar Shane Mosley, the legendary Sugar Shane Mosley, when he was 19 years old, and he beat him. The Canelo stock was definitely on the uprise. Canelo's first true test came at the hands of Austin Trout, who is a left-handed slick southpaw with an undefeated record of 26-0. The fight was held in Texas in front of thousands to watch, and right from the very start, it was pure action. In a fight where two warriors who refused to lose left it all in the ring, Canelo won a very strategic fight, with the difference coming in the 7th round with a thunderous right cannon straight to the chin, putting down his determined rival. So after Canelo beat Austin Trout, he was full of confidence, he was full of determination, and he wanted to make history. He called out the legendary Floyd Money Mayweather in a super fight in Las Vegas. Mayweather was 36 years old. He was a 44-0 champion who dedicated his entire life to his craft. He loved to play the villain. He loved to play the bad guy. Mayweather was a defensive genius and counterpunched with surgical precision. Canelo Alvarez was 23 years old, full of testosterone, full of confidence, full of motivation. But the thing about boxing is there's levels to the game. And him being so young and inexperienced, he wasn't on Mayweather's level. But he wasn't quite ready. He was still too young. Mayweather was still in his prime at 36 years old. He had surgical counterpunching. His defense was on point, and he proved to be too much for the young warrior that night. Even though Canelo lost, he absorbed a lot of Mayweather's technique and gained a lot of experience that he would use for future fights. Canelo Alvarez knew that he still had much to learn after the Mayweather loss. He decided to dive even deeper into his training and boxing studies. For the next 3 years, he would go 7-0, defeating champions like El Perro Angulo, the Cuban superstar Lara, knocking out James Kirtland, fighting the legendary Miguel Cotto, crushing Amir Khan's chin, destroying Lyman Smith's body, and totally embarrassing Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. All the experiences that Canelo had as a child up until now would soon prepare him for the greatest challenge of his life, fighting the Kazakh machine, Triple G. Triple G could be compared to a living Terminator that would punish his opponents with bone-fracturing hooks, shotgun jabs to the face that would often break his opponent's nose, suffocating them in their own blood. His punches were called Kazakh Thunder, weapons of war designed to end his opponent violently and quickly. Triple G was an absolute indestructible machine, and Canelo Alvarez wanted every part of him. When the bell rang, Canelo utilized his speed and agility to elude the powerful Gennady Golovkin. As the rounds progressed, Triple G would use his seek and destroy style to come forward, while Canelo Alvarez would counter sharply to Triple G's body and face. The fight itself was all about precision, accuracy, and timing. It was boxing at its finest. It ended in a very controversial decision where a draw was awarded to both fighters and a rematch would definitely be in the works. A bump in the road would occur when the rematch wouldn't happen for another year due to Canelo testing positive for a banned substance called clenbuterol, which he was ultimately exonerated for by passing a hair follicle test proving his innocence. The rematch would occur exactly 1 year from the previous fight, both fighters willing to go to war to see who had the greater will. Everything was on the line. From the very first round to the very last bell, both fighters gave it their all, fighting Mexican style in the center of the ring, going toe to toe, absorbing each other's best shots, and going absolutely to war. In an extremely close fight, Canelo Alvarez overcame the machine Gennady Golovkin to win the World Middleweight Championship. After his glorious glorious victory over Triple G, Canelo went on to win a title at the 168-pound division, brutally destroying Rocky Fielding's body and knocking him out, then going back down to 160 to fight the prime Daniel Jacobs, who had a record of 35-2, then going up and making history and capturing a 4th title in the 4th weight division, defeating and knocking out Sergey Kovalev in the 11th round by crushing his chin and putting him to sleep. What makes the Alvarez story so interesting and so intriguing is that when he was a young man, he was helping his family by selling ice cream. He received his first pair of boxing gloves from his brother, who inspired him for greatness. He won the Mexican national title at 14 years old, then went on to go pro at 15, defeating grown men. He went on to sign with Golden Boy Promotions, helping his career rocket to the next level. At the young age of 23, he lost to the legendary Mayweather, but learned from that loss and turned that bitter taste of defeat into a winning advantage. He defeated the Kazakh machine Triple G, then went on to win his 4th title, knocking out Sergey Kovalev. Canelo's story reminds us that even though we may start off from humble beginnings, like the symbolic pawn, with focus, determination, and self-belief, we can transform ourselves into something greater than where we started from. I'd like to thank you for listening to the Warriors Mentality series of Canelo Alvarez. I invite you to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.